Okay, so it is Thursday, October 14th, 2021. It is 7:02 p.m., so we will call to order the Equity and Inclusion Committee meeting for October. Would you like to call roll, Lisa?
Jessica Loya. Brandy Alexander, absent. Daniel Trotter.
Here.
Gabby Flores, absent. April Jones.
I'm here.
Bess Bailey, absent. Yvonne Salinas.
Here.
All right, so we'll go down the agenda items for today's meeting. We will start with old business. Is there anything that anyone would like to mention in the old business category? Jessica?
We have to wait for Gabby to get here. But I will say, and I don't have my phone with me. As I was putting together the old minutes, I noticed that on one of our YouTube videos, Diane Peters had commented, and I screenshotted it so that I could read it. I can't remember what her requests were. One was this, I believe, which we've already done, which was showing what we're doing on the thing as we go. And I think the other was that we announce ourselves as we speak so that she would be able to know who is talking when. There could have been more to it, but I don't remember because I don't have it in front of me.
So, Jessica, I think that's a great idea.
Well, we are ordering name tags, so that's going to help. So.
And I think it was more just that it's confusing when because we do, as I'm watching it, we're all talking, we know each other and we know each other's voices, but like for other people, they don't have any clue who's speaking when because they can't see our mouths. So I get it.
One item I had written down was just finding out about some of our promotional abilities, and like there were some questions about flyer stands. I don't know if that was an easy thing to follow up on or if that was a number that someone had, in the archives here.
Yes, actually, I believe Jessica forwarded that question over to Kim, who got back to us. There had been, I'm going to look it up to make sure. This may not be correct. Tell me if you think it sounds right. There had been 3, I believe, but 2 are out of commission, and 1 is going to be taken down shortly. So I think we're ultimately going to have 0.
Honestly, that seems fair because nobody seems to know that they exist, which is sad because they're right there in the middle of the walkway. I mean, they're very hard to miss if you're walking down Armour, but every time I bring them up, nobody has any idea what I'm talking about, so.
Welcome, Gabby. We were just going through old business, so no problem.
Jessica, when you said that she made a comment on something, was it on the EIC webpage?
No, it was on, I want to say the EIC video from YouTube from July, maybe. I can't remember.
Thank you.
Oh, also wondering why that was the last month, whatever month it was, that there were comments on the YouTube videos. Was there any reason for that? I don't know. I just noticed as I was going through all the YouTube videos, like every month up until that month had the ability for people to make comments, and then Diane did use it that month, and then the next month it says like comments are closed or comments are turned off or something like that. Didn't know if there was a reason for it or not.
I have no idea, but I can write that down and ask.
Okay.
So I believe that we're up to old business B, Police Chief Community Forum request. And we also received a letter that was attached to the agenda. If you'd like us to start there, Gabby, we can.
sorry, I've been also trying to do some recruiting for this committee, so
Yeah.
I apologize.
Awesome. Would you like me to start
Multitasking.
with the letter that we have from Chief Freeman?
That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gonna move it.
And just for context, for those that weren't around, at our last meeting, we made a few revisions and tweaks and then sent it to Chief Freeman from the EIC mailbox, if you will. And yeah, so this is the
The
response
response letter.
to that.
Okay. I don't mind reading it, but you can read it if you want. Does it matter to anyone?
It does not matter, whichever you prefer. I'm happy to read it if you
Go
would
ahead.
like me to. Okay. All right. So this was a note from Chief Freeman on September 24th, 2021 to the Equity and Inclusion Committee. The message reads, "Thank you for your letter requesting regular community forums. The police department is and has been open to ongoing conversations between our community and our police department about their experiences with each other and about what we do and should do to keep the community safe while recognizing the humanity and inherent worth of every individual." And he recognizes that this was proclaimed in Resolution 20-042 and passed on July 7th, 2020. Although difficult during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the police department has found ways to engage in conversations with our community. We hosted the community forum in July of 2020. We have co-hosted our own Coffee with a Cop event. We participated for the 5th year in our Conversation with a Cop program with the 11th grade American Civics classes at North Kansas City High School. We are regular attendees at the North Kansas City Business Council events. We are currently working with local faith leaders on the 2nd annual National Faith and Blue Weekend. We have attended block parties. I answered many of the Equity and Inclusion Committee's questions during our one of our meetings this spring. We have responded promptly on requests for our internal policies and statistics, and I have routinely invited members of the community into my office to discuss matters of our department. The community forum in July of 2020 was held in response to the high-profile murder of George Floyd while in police custody in Minnesota, and the subsequent calls around the country for police reform. We felt the need to allow our community to ask questions about our police department's policies, procedures, training, and address any concerns locally. One of the changes that arose from these conversations was a more accessible citizen complaint process. We support these conversations and have been occurring in different formats and look forward to continuing to engage with our community moving forward, including issue-focused community events, either hosted by us or outside groups. Please contact me to discuss issues you would like to see covered.
I'll go
So with
ahead
that
and
being
respond.
said,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jess. While I appreciate the intent of the summary that Chief Freeman has offered, he didn't respond to our request, which was to get things scheduled for the remainder of the year or for the next fiscal year, so that it can be an ongoing, routine, predictable time frame. And I don't think we were asking for a lot in terms of quarterly community meetings or at least twice a year. But I feel strongly that this is a little bit of smoke and mirrors, that we've done some great work here. Congratulations, City of North Kansas City. And there's so much more work to do. And I think the police example that I shared a few months ago of transactions that happened in our alley, while he was immediately responsive, I think that isn't, I can't be the only one that took the time to submit a complaint, because many people told me to submit a complaint. We have to have lots of ways that community can air concerns or ask questions or offer support in the way that I tried to say, hey, I'll be available if you need an interpreter for, this transaction. So I feel like that what we asked for we're not getting, and this is a salve to try and just kind of pacify us a little bit. So I feel like we need to go back to him and say we really respectfully request several meeting times so that the community can come have a chat with you. Or an alternative is that if there is a conversation with a cop program, is it, like, can we hop onto that, right? Is it, is there a, is it going to be like every 6th month or every 4th month, the chief's going to be the cop to have a conversation? Or, is there some other way? But I feel like our ask wasn't responded to. And I'll pause.
So I'm going to piggyback on that. I will agree, but I just also feel very strongly that this is a repetitive behavior that we've been hitting with. We ask for it, and then we are basically told that we don't need to. Or I know that we had a community member meet with him not too long ago, and when it came to the disparity index and things like that, he basically said that there is no problem. He doesn't see any problem. And to me, his unwillingness to just agree to a couple of community forums, the need to have questions that were pre-written out that we gave him when we did our forum, it sort of speaks to a culture to me. And I know that the experience that Gabby had is not the only experience that has happened. It is the only one that was witnessed by an EIC member who brought it to the attention of everybody else. And I would imagine that things like that occur somewhat frequently, and they aren't spoken about. And I do know that there are community members who would like to see public forums, much like the one that we had. While yes, it was in response to that, I think the hope was that that would be an ongoing thing, that we would have more events like that where people could still come and talk. And I also think that it just builds a feeling of trust. I think that's really important in a community, to know that your police department wants to talk to you, that they're not constantly skirting the issue. And I really think it's important that we get an actual set date, even if it is 2 a year as we requested. And I don't think that's too difficult to do, honestly, to just meet 2 times a year with the community that you serve and answer their questions. And I know Gabby has mentioned before in the past that like a lot of these events, they're great, but they are not conversations with the head of the department. I think you mentioned in one meeting that, I know somebody in the community went to the Faith and Blue thing the other day, and Chief Freeman was not there, but another officer was, and that officer was amazing about having a discussion with her. But what can that officer accomplish singularly? That officer doesn't have the ability to create the changes, or while the conversation's amazing, and I do love that this officer took the time to have this conversation, I think it's important that Chief Freeman be involved in these conversations, and again, that we can just get some regularly scheduled events.
Okay, so if we are going to be more specific about the regularly scheduled events, I just want to work a couple things out. Just if we do go back, I'd like to be specific with a request. So I think what we did in the park was really well received. We had quite a few people there. I think the park is an excellent meeting space. I think if we chose 2 dates plus backup rain days in a year, if we get those out there with the location of the park, it's a great place to meet. You can accommodate however many people go. We could have the microphone set up like we did before, and if they wanted to, they could roll in coffee with a cop or something with that. Like, I'd be happy to set up refreshments or whatever, so that it wasn't so taxing. Because I think one of the things I'm hearing in this letter is we're being asked by a lot of different groups throughout the community, and so we feel like we're a little bit stretched thin. But I think the argument that you made before, that we want more than just like a touch a truck or a handshake, like we need a community forum where we can really talk about things that are happening in the community. So if that's something that you're open to, I say we get pretty specific with our request and put that together and try again.
I just want to add one thing. Yes, to all of those things. But I think a point that needs to be called out, and maybe we figure out a way to capture it in the letter response, is that the event that Jess spoke of, where the officer took the time to talk with a community member, is amazing. And wouldn't it be great if the community could have access to the leadership? And there's no secret sauce. The tone of the culture is set by the leadership. And for me, this is telling me that the culture of our city is that y'all aren't important enough to warrant a meeting, a sit down with me. And so that's how and I'm just going to personalize it because I don't want to presume anything for anybody else, but had I not submitted in writing, I don't know that I would have had audience with leadership. But because there was a paper trail, I felt like it was attended to in a different way. And I think that those are all cultural elements, whether it's, leadership time, face time, community building, all of those pieces. And I just hope that there is reception to that and an understanding of that. I mean, I get everybody's stretched. We're all, parents or working or, all of those things. And we're here on a Thursday night. We're all stretched really thin. And I appreciate that. But I think if there's budget made for it, it has value. If time is carved out, it has value, whether it's for the police department or the community. I'm going to show up if I know, holy cow, the chief is coming to this thing and he's just going to talk to us. I'm going to make time because it shows me that it's valuable to him and to the city. So I'm happy to help in any way to craft a message or to respond, because I realize that you're kind of in this middle yucky space of, being kind of a middle.
Actually, my whole job is to be in the middle yucky space. So I think if we went back to how you guys did before, I think you had two people. If you draft the letter and give it to me, then I can make an appointment to go see Chief Freeman and hand deliver the letter. Okay. Talk about it. Yeah? Okay.
So I'm volunteering. Is there a second volunteer that will help me review so I can draft it, send it to you, we'll tweak it, and then send it to Lisa. Okay.
And then I'll email everyone to let you know where we are in the process. Not for a discussion, I can blind copy as usual, just so everyone's aware of what's happening in real time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to reiterate, I do really want to be clear about what Gabby just said, because that is what it feels like. And I do understand that we are all busy and we all have lives, and they do seem to be pulled in a lot of different directions. But I mean, even when we planned last year a Fall Masquerade, we asked them one week and they were there basically the next week. This is something we've been asking for months. I think we had the meeting with him in March, right? And I know during that meeting, this was voiced. And it does. And I know it just, to me, it speaks to an idea that he has mentioned repeatedly, which to me is a red flag for anybody, whether it's an individual, an organization, a police department, and that they're doing great and there is no room for improvement, which to me probably means we really need to be having these conversations. And as he mentioned, the last conversation we had some positive things come out of it. So I would just really like to be clear that when he sends these messages, which do seem to be a lot of patting on the back for the things that they do in the community, it does send a message that they don't really care enough about the community at large to have these conversations that are being asked for. So I know when we draft this, I just want to make that clear, and that might be more of a personal thing for me, and as you said, but I do want to be very clear in that, because it is, we've just asked so many times. I feel like we have that at this point we're kind of beating a dead horse, and I just want a real answer. He can say no if he really wants to, but I would like to clearly hear him say no, or give us dates. Those are really the only two options that I'm willing to work with at this point.
The message that I keep hearing from him is come see me anytime you need something or have a question. So this could be a miscommunication with me not doing the middleman part very well, which is why I would like to get your next letter and take it in person and sit down and really be able to talk to him about that. So we'll move to that step.
I'd just like to say out loud that I will commit to get that draft to you by Sunday. Okay?
All right, thank you for the feedback on that, and thank you, Lisa, for being the middle person on that as well. Do we want to move forward to regular agenda items, or would we like to approve the minutes from last time since we have a
Yeah, I was wondering, that
eligible
was
to vote?
so technically we have a lot of minutes to approve because that is past stuff. So we're going to start with June 3rd, 2021. The meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. Roll was called. In attendance was Tara, I just wrote first names here, so Tara Adler, Daniel Trotter, Gabriela Flores, April, why can't I think of her name? Jones, thank you. Okay, Yvonne Salinas and Jess Loya. We did group updates. Daniel updated us on the website, which at that point had just gone live, and you let us know that. We discussed incorporating frequently asked questions page to the community website, or to the EIC website. We approved minutes. We reviewed 3 logo options and decided to circle back to it because we weren't completely satisfied with any of them. We discussed flyers, incorporating the city logo on the flyers, adding the phone number to the flyers, and then taking it back to the communication. We had discussed somehow including the frequently asked questions in the flyers, whether that was a QR code or something else. We discussed our presence at events, setting up a sign-up genius, having flyers readily available to hand out. The Parks Department said they would provide a table for us. And then we also discussed having board and committee applications available at events. We then discussed future Pride Month event for 2022 and adding work sessions. Primarily that month it was the strategic plan, so we could work on the strategic plan. We discussed meeting in person and voted to meet in person. It was a unanimous vote. Voted to meet in person requiring masks starting in July. It was a unanimous vote. And then we voted to move meetings from the first Thursday of the month to the second Thursday of the month. People of NKC updated us and discussed signage and the Instagram page. Lisa discussed gift cards. Then April talked to us about the NKC United Pledge, which was when it was first introduced, and the meeting was adjourned at 8:20 p.m. We're going to do these individually or all together?
I think you can read through all of it and then we can approve.
So then July 8th, 2021, the meeting was called to order at 7:02. Roll was called. In attendance was Tara, Yvonne, Gabby, Daniel, and April. Approved minutes from the previous work session. Public comments. Mindy Hart gave a public comment suggesting that we put together a business plan. Mayor DeLong let us know we had an initial budget of $2,000. We reviewed the city council's discussion on sensitivity and equity and inclusion trainings. Kim reviewed the MARC EIC training with us. We discussed the training the trainer concept and continuing education. We discussed meeting norms and voted to amend the bylaws to define meeting norms. We reviewed the version 2 of the strategic plan. Discussed the NKC United logo. Then we did committee updates with people of NKC, talking about a need to highlight boards and committees. Brandy brought up the idea of a community liaison, and then the meeting was adjourned at 8:33 p.m. August 12th, 2021, the meeting started at 7:05 p.m. In attendance was Yvonne, Gabby, Bess, Tara, Daniel, and Jess. We approved the strategic plan unanimously. We voted on the NKC United logo, which was also a unanimous decision. We discussed our 2021 spending budget and I think landed on spending that on branding items. And then we discussed the 2022 budget, where our main expenditures would be RFP, the RFP, data collection, and a future cultural festival. We, I think, discussed the first draft of the police chief letter scheduling community forums. We discussed hiring of the city administrator and the process. We discussed meeting timelines. We added committee member comments to the end of the agenda, the end of meetings. Our committee updates, we talked about the NKC United project, jumping in and identifying the purpose. People of NKC highlighting committee openings, specifically the Planning Commission. Lisa walked us through a PowerPoint. Requested city guidance on using the People of NKC Instagram account. The quarterly newsletter group was created, which was Daniel, Jess, and Tara. And then we talked about questions for a question set for hiring that Gabby had brought to our attention, and the meeting was adjourned at 8:20. And then September 9th, 2021, the meeting was called to order at 7:01. Roll was called. In attendance was Yvonne, Bess, Daniel, Gabby, and Jess. We discussed strategic plan next steps. Kim recommended it's time for us to put out an RFP. We discussed what this looks like and highlighted a need to ensure that when we are putting out this RFP, we are including diverse applicants. We discussed the 2022 budget. The work session that we were going to have last month, but we have not, we need to, was to work with Kim on the RFP. So we were going to ensure that Kim was available. And then we discussed the 2021 budget, again, branding items, and specifically using ProPrint for nameplates, t-shirts, banners, flyers, window clings. And then we discussed getting those flyers into existing city advertising spaces. We voted on the NKC United logo. It was a unanimous vote. And then we did committee updates. People of NKC, Lisa passed this off to me. We discussed the gift cards, and then Yvonne joined the committee, so is now working with me on that. The EIC newsletter was approved by Tara and ready to print. We talked about hiring questions. Lisa informed us about the questions that specifically focused on DEI initiatives. The city requested that DEI holidays are included in the upcoming calendar, and me and Daniel are set to work on that. We added old business to the agenda. Gabby updated us on her phone call with the police chief, a follow-up letter to Chief Freeman about regularly scheduled, and a follow-up letter to Chief Freeman about regularly scheduled events. We briefly discussed community volunteers, a community cleanup project aiding the elderly and disabled, partnering with Briarcliff Elementary School. Then we discussed ADA compliance and our involvement in that. Lisa voiced her appreciation. And we discussed voting on past minutes and scheduling a work session. And I do not know when that meeting was adjourned because it wasn't said out loud. So I couldn't tell you. It just was some point. So it was probably, okay.
Okay, so don't you feel like you guys got a lot done?
All right, and the meeting was adjourned at 7:58.
Thank you, Jess. Well, I move to approve those minutes with a roll call vote. Lisa, would you mind reading roll?
Jessica Loya,
Yes.
Daniel Trotter,
Yes.
Gabby Flores,
Yes.
April Jones,
Yes.
Yvonne Salinas.
Yes.
All right, now that we've approved the meetings for basically all of quarter two and the beginning of, or I guess the end of quarter one even, with that being said, let's move to the regular agenda items. So let's talk about our marketing and branding items. I know Yvonne had some updates in our email before this.
Okay, so I did meet with Olivia and Mike at ProPrint, and we decided on ordering some marketing items, but we just need to figure out how, the sizes, the quantity we want, etc. So that was supposed to happen on our work session. Anyway, so I did order like a double-sided feather flag, the ones that just you can put out, it's going to have a stand so we can put it on the grass, or if we go somewhere that doesn't have grass, we can use it, on the concrete. Name badges also we ordered. A banner for our table. It's pens. We ordered also nameplates for us for here. And the little 4x4 NKC United decals. Those, more flyers. And they could not give me prices on shirts. So I talked to Jess, and since Bess is out, I'm going to work with Jess with this. Bess approved. She's fine with stepping away and taking care of her baby. But so Jess and I talked, and we're going to meet up with this guy he does live here in North Kansas City, but he has a business at the West Bottoms. So we're going to try to meet with him maybe next week and see if we can get like T-shirts and other things that we couldn't get from ProPrint.
Can I ask you a question that you may not know? Does the city have a vendor that they already use for T-shirts? No? Okay, just wanted to check.
So I will say, I put a call out for local vendors, and this is the only one that was specifically local to North Kansas City, as in he lives on Erie Street, and I believe his company is called Happy Humans, am I correct?
I think so. Common goods for uncommon people is what I saw.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
And then we did find, I sent you a list of other ones. There were a few, and they're all connected to North Kansas City in various ways, whether people who live here work for the companies but most of them are KCMO based. So we were gonna check out this company first, and then we'll keep checking them.
Yeah, that's it that I ordered. I don't know, on our work session is what we need to decide on, sizes and quantity and stuff like that, so.
So the only thing you're waiting on are sizes and quantity of shirts, everything else? is
Well,
ordered?
like the double-sided feather flag, they have it in 9 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet. I mean, how big do we want it? I mean,
I think maybe we can just decide these things now and then
Okay.
let you go with it.
yeah, okay, we can do
Yeah,
that.
let's just, yeah.
And
So I'll
then,
write down, how about give me 1 second. I'm ready. Did you call it a feather flag?
it's a feather flag, it's double-sided. So they have it in 9 feet, 12 feet, and 15 feet.
Does it fold into like a like a little
Like, yeah.
baggy thing?
I don't know
Okay.
what
Up
it
into
folds
tiny
down into, but, yeah, I just know it's, I should have printed it out, but, I don't know if you've seen them. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just
I've seen them.
advertised,
I think they do fold up somehow.
they do fold up, but
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know to what, but.
I was gonna say for transport purposes,
Yes.
it's gonna be important.
Yes.
Okay, so when we originally talked about this, we were thinking about when we do set up in the park so people all around can see us.
Mm-hmm.
So what height do you guys think would be most appropriate?
Personally, I feel like 15 is excessive. We should stick with 9 or 12.
I
would
think,
Honestly, 9 I think is okay, but 12 is, gives a little
Taller
bit of
than the
extra
tallest
height.
person.
Those short people like me.
I like 12, but,
Yeah, I like the middle
12?
ground.
I like
The
12.
12 option sounds good.
okay. And then name badges, well, we just have to, I ordered only one banner, figured one table, fine. Pens. Do we want pens? I did order pens, but I didn't know, they're shooting me for 500, and I don't know if we need that many to start.
I think
but-
the pins are good for a couple reasons.
Okay.
Because it's just another way to get our phone number,
Mhm.
website, and email address out there. So we
Okay.
can have them at the library, we can have them here, we can have them at our
Okay,
events.
so then I'll do the 500, perfect, okay?
So we're gonna
Um,
have, we're gonna put how big will the pins be? I mean, are they just like pins you would put on like a
Pens.
bag? Oh, ink
Right.
pen, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought the same thing for a minute, that's why.
I know.
was like,
Writing
pins,
pens,
okay.
writing pens.
I like pins.
Okay, and then the decals also for our businesses, 4x4. That's the size that they suggested. I just didn't know how many we should start off with that. 50, 100, how many, 250?
So we have over 1,000 local businesses. Not that we need that many to begin with, but so what numbers did they give you?
I don't, let me see.
4x4 feels small to me.
4x4, you think is too small?
Because if you want people from a distance to be able to be like, yeah, I'm going there, I think it's got to be like a 6x6. What are the other options?
Yeah, I was going
didn't
to say 6x6
see.
too.
We might-
I can,
I was thinking that would be a good size. That's what I see, like if you're walking around and you've got somebody that had an award for the restaurant or something like
Mhm.
that, they're usually smaller towards the door. I think if we wanted to go bigger with that, then maybe we should pump the brakes just a little bit and ask the businesses what they think would be, what would they want in their storefront.
okay.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah, we
with that.
can-
And I also think 4x4, I think feels pretty common as far as things that are stuck on windows and
Yeah,
businesses.
if you walk up to a restaurant and you look at the things they have posted up there by the window, they're not usually super big.
So they do it in 25, 50, or 100. So we can order, a couple hundred of those.
So do we want to wait until we get some businesses on board? I know we have a few that are already, more than willing. I know Screenland's in. Big
I
Rip-
would
yeah, there's a
say-
few.
I would say if we're
businesses.
not sure on the size, then maybe check with some businesses. If we think the 4x4 is good, then I would we're not going to want the design to change. The idea is to recognize it. So I would get at least a couple hundred.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, and then flyers. Were they the ones that did the flyers for us? The equity and inclusion flyers? ProPrint?
I'm not sure. I was just given a box of flyers.
No, I watched the video. I think they were printed here and then just given to you. I don't know. I remember there was a mild conversation that occurred here where Bryant was like, "Oh yeah, I can just print them," and then you and Tara handed them out at some event, I believe. But I think.
Art in the park.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So,
It wasn't like a full.
Somebody did it.
wasn't like a full copy box of paper. It was like a few reams. Maybe.
okay, so do you want me to just order those also? Have them print us out, either 500 or 1,000 of those? What do you think?
I honestly don't know how paper stuff is handled. Can I check with Crystal? Put
Sure.
that on my job, and I'll check with Crystal on that.
Okay, so then, yep, you'll just get back to me. And then our shirts, as soon as we meet with this guy, we'll hopefully for our next work session, we can get sizes for us and would y'all, and then we'll just meet with him first.
Okay, one question about the shirts. Are we looking, and this is what I think we're doing, but I just want to make sure I'm thinking the same thing everyone else is. Are we looking for shirts that we can wear at events so we're recognizable as coming from the EIC?
So we had discussed both. I reviewed almost every EIC meeting over the weekend, so I've watched a lot of us talking. But we had discussed both having them for us and then also having them for other purposes. I don't know, we did discuss in one meeting what it would look like to sell the shirts and if that money would come back to us. And I believe Kim was here at that point, and she said that she would work with us when we got to that point. And then we also had just discussed having them for events if we, wanted to use them as prizes or something like that, where we were giving them to people, but that
Yeah.
they would be available to the public as well.
I believe what Kim had said, this is from my memory, so if anybody's watching, I'll need to check this and make sure, is that we would just need to have a space set up for that in our budget. And we can make that happen. I think it would be cool to have EIC shirts that people in the community could wear. I think it would be extremely helpful to have EIC shirts that are unique to people from the EIC, so we have a visible presence at these events. And I don't think we can use all of our sizes, but by the time we actually get these shirts, we are going to have about half the people getting ready to either accept another term or roll over. So I think you could also just come up with the most common sizes and order more than we need right now, so that we have those available.
So we want to do two
Yes.
different designs, is that what you're saying? One specifically for EIC members to be
And
recognized?
Well-
this is just how I feel. I really feel like if we do this and we have it not just for us, but for the committees after us, I want people to be able to see us at events and say, oh, that's somebody I need to go talk to about this. I've been holding on to this information, you know? Or I guess instead, I mean, if you wanted to do the same one as everybody else, we could use the name tags on those, which might set you apart. But I just think as a visual, just to say, like, we're here, we're at these community events, we're visible.
So I completely agree with you, but could I suggest that maybe our other shirts, because I believe it was Beth who suggested that the NKC United project not only be for businesses, but also extend to community members. So maybe our secondary shirt design for the EIC would be an NKC United shirt for community members.
I love it. And if you do that, I would also want some adorable sign to put in my planter. So
Yes, that's what my idea was, to order like maybe 100 T-shirts. We would each get a T-shirt as well, but we have them for the community. And then my idea was like a blue jean, just something we can wear with anything. If we had to show up multiple days or whatever, we would have something to wear that's different than just a shirt, just for us, So that was my idea, but some people may not like denim, so we'll look and see what.
I did tell you
what we can
denim is
find.
not flattering on me unless it's jeans.
Well, that blue looks beautiful on you, so.
Thank you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you
I
got
would-
me there.
I would just offer that I'm out of my comfort zone by saying this, but for logo and brand recognition, I think we should keep the symbol the same and just have a different shirt color. So maybe council members have navy blue, and then we produce a whole bunch of white for the community with the same logo as the NKC United.
yeah, a lot of our stuff is in purple too, but if you're going that route, I think you could also pick a brighter color that's more visible.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a really good idea, and it keeps the cost down.
I'm liking Mayor DeLong's T-shirt right
Agreed.
now. Like,
I was
to
going to
get
say,
the right Pantone color of
can I
T-shirt.
suggest that at our work session coming up, which we should schedule, that we put on that work session, like figuring out some designs and then,
Okay, so put the shirts on the work session that we're going to talk about having later, right?
yes.
Okay, so just to recap, I think there was consensus on a 12-foot flag, right? And 500 pens. And I do not know if there was consensus on decals.
I mean, that's up to you guys, whatever we're going to decide on the size first, either 4x4 or the 6x6, and then we can decide. We can order, start with 200 or something. And then our next fiscal year, we can order more or whatever. But, to get through 200 businesses, that's a lot.
Personally, I do think the 4x4, I hear what you're saying as far as being able to see it from a distance, but when we walk down Armor Road, when I see decals, they do seem to be like 4x4. They are smaller. And I do look at them, so I don't know. Usually they're right there
I
on
do
the
too, because I like
window.
to see the awards.
Yeah.
Well, and the vendor is recommending 4x4, so obviously they've made them before. So
Okay.
I will
Plus, I
change my
think
vote to yes.
They're a little bright too, so they kind of like catch your eye, So I think they would be visible. Maybe not from a distance, but also if you see them on multiple storefronts, I think you will start to recognize them even from a distance. So
And if you order 200, something we can talk about or add to the work session is I really do like the idea of branching out to the community as well. and thinking about my own residence, a yard sign, or even if I
Mhm.
would pay to get a decal to put on my own glass
Mhm.
door. So just putting that out there.
Yes, we can bump it up to, 500 if we have to.
And you
'Cause
guys
I
can
would
discuss
totally-
whichever one you, I mean, like, if you would want to do decals, or if you want to do signs, or, whatever you would want to do, I would do either one.
I mean, my personal feel is like, let's get the first batch out there and circulated, and then you generate interest, and then you can really assess your second order. The other question I think the designer's going to have is whether it's a transparent background or a white background. And did he ask those questions?
No, we were supposed to
Okay.
get together with Kim, I
Okay.
thought, but I don't know where that.
Because I think if you think about it, a transparent decal is going to be hard to see from the street, that it should be on maybe white or a light color so that it can be visible, since we're going with the smaller size.
Yeah, that was brought up in the last meeting. It was supposed to be a conversation with Kim,
I
so.
will say, though, for purposes, for people who are watching and don't quite understand, we had a committee member unexpectedly have a baby, and some things definitely got lost in that while she was dealing with that. So just,
Congratulations.
yeah, congratulations, baby Lois. But yes, so people out there who are watching understand for context.
So is there anything else you need from us, Yvonne, on orders?
No, not right now, not till our next work session.
And Crystal said she can make copies.
Thank you, Crystal.
All right, so the next item on our regular agenda items bullet is the discussion for our sponsorship of events, and the Fall Festival is highlighted there as one we might want to sponsor. So any discussion about that?
So this, yes, I put this on the agenda. So last year, me and a community member, Joe Gower, with some other people helping out, organized what we called the Fall Masquerade. And it was, before people were vaccinated, so it was very mask heavy, although I believe this year it is equally, we would prefer people wear masks. But we are doing it, I believe, on the 29th of this month. And originally I had reached out to, well, now I don't know exactly who it was, but the people who do the grants for block parties. And when I spoke with them, we kind of explained that it's like a all wards block party, and we just really want to bring community members together to meet each other. It was sort of part of our People of NKC initiative before it became part of this, the EIC. So last year, we signed people up to do interviews. And this year, we kind of just want to continue the tradition, and we want to keep introducing people to each other and getting the community involved with each other. But, so we were wondering, so while we have no problem putting it on the same way we did last year and paying for stuff, either for this year or next year even, we were just thinking about ways that we could make it a little bit bigger and a little bit better. And we did think that maybe, since we were essentially told from the top down that this is something that we should bring to the EIC, and that instead of using the community block party funds, maybe the EIC would be willing to fund it. So I thought I would bring it to you guys and discuss it and see what you guys think about it.
So the real question that we're discussing is, does the EIC want to sponsor events that we feel, sorry everybody, that we feel will be beneficial for the community and bring people together?
So this is just one of, if other people wanted to have community events similar, that would we be willing to potentially sponsor those events?
I have some thoughts on it.
I have just a quick, of course, logistical question, because that's my specialty, I think. What budget would it come out of? So would it come out of even though, like, we're spending down the $2,000, we've already missed the deadline because the new fiscal year has begun, or are we spending against the $10,000? And it might, you can defer to Kim if you.
I need to defer to Kim, but I believe
I would say
that-
at this point, you have a budget authority for 10,000 in this year, so
Yeah.
it would probably come from this year.
Okay,
But as noted before, the ceiling can be very flexible here. to
Okay.
what we need to do.
and these marketing items are coming out of the 2,000, correct? Not the new 10?
yeah, I believe they got a blanket
Okay.
order form in
Okay.
time for that specific
To
purpose.
be approved for last fiscal. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I love the idea. I didn't go or attend last year, but I mean, I am a believer that we should collaborate on this. Like, is there a way to request a small block party grant and then we can match it? Right? Something like that. Because I do think that, this may set a precedent for, 28 other types of events that don't directly correlate to DEI, right? Or to,
So I was actually going to ask for guidance. How do the Black Party grants work? So is it a certain number of Black parties that they could fund, and then after they hit that cap, there's no more? Is that something that we could look into if we put aside $1,000 or something, and then because literally I think all we were looking for was, last year we spent like $120. But if we put a cap on it, like $150 per community event like this that the EIC would sponsor, so they're not maybe fully sponsoring the entire thing. Like if we did it next year and we wanted to do other things, like maybe the EIC only puts in a small amount. But again, like capped at a certain number. Is that how the Black Party grants work? Do we know?
I mean, there's always a number. I'm just not sure what it is off the top of my head.
Okay.
I believe it was set the bar is set pretty high on that as well.
And where does that
it
come
really,
from?
the intention of that was really just have like a street to street, a small group gatherings. I mean, that was the intention of that program from the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought, for a larger community event, it give the EIC an opportunity to sponsor that and get the name out as well and help contribute through that.
It's not
It
technically
was
a
never
block
really intended
party.
to string several together, because I've had that question before too. Can we string 3 or 4 or 5 blocks together? Again, that wasn't really how or why the program was initially set up for larger gatherings. So I don't know. There was another question there, I feel like.
And you'll be gathering in the park, correct?
Yes, we did it at Mackin last year, and we collaborated with Snow and Roast, which is there in Mackin, which is one of our little community businesses. I think this year we just plan on doing pretty much the same thing, and then a little bit of a trunk or treat with 5 or 6 cars, and then we asked for community members to bring like yard games, I think is what we did last year.
So my thoughts on it are, like a block party, there's a maximum that you're going to receive, and it can't go towards alcohol. There are some basic rules like that. Sponsoring community events, I very much think is going to be a great idea if we can work out the details, and this is why. It allows us to do things that are already organically happening in the community. We can have a presence there with ourselves, with the T-shirts, with the pens, it's a way into that side of it. But also, as previously discussed, we are a limited number of people with limited amount of time. So if we set it up in a way that's beneficial for the community, it's also a way that we can be involved without shouldering all of the responsibility of planning and hosting this community event. So I think it could be a really good and sustainable way for the EIC to support the community.
So I will also say it was discussed already that if we could get some flyers for the 29th, regardless of what decision we come to tonight, we would love to have some flyers to hand out, some EIC flyers. Like last year, like I said, we signed up people of NKC. I think events like this would also be a good place once we start getting into community volunteers. that if people wanted to sign up for that, we could get a running list of people who were readily willing to jump in and volunteer when and if we get to a point where we need them. But yeah, so this, to be fair, this fall festival was actually one of the kind of first kickoff events that helped to create this committee. That was kind of where some of those ideas came from. We really just wanted to bring all of North Kansas City together. I know specifically we often speak about Ward 4, and we really just kind of want to bring Ward 4 into the fold. They're kind of out there on their own. But yeah, so anyways, we would love some flyers for the 29th if we can get them.
Done. I'll walk them across the alley and hand them to Joe.
All right, thank you.
Do you need an answer or a vote on
No,
funding?
so I will say, I think me and Joe have just decided to go the route of this year, we're going to handle it. But I think for future, I just think it would be really cool. Like, I think if we had our own little, it's not necessarily the Black Party grants, but like our own little grants for community events. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't even have to be the 200 that the Block parties are. But like Lisa said, it's just a way for us to get involved, and we could even kind of put it on the back burner and throw it on a subcommittee and then work out the details of it, similar to what she was saying, like there are certain regulations that go along with it. But yeah, just for future things.
I would encourage us to put it on the strategic planning pin board,
Okay.
because we talked about other events within that initial kind of framework. And so maybe as we build that out further, we make sure to include 6 or 8 flagship things that we sponsor, including the Masquerade Ball or Fall Festival, and maybe an ethnic festival or whatever. So I think we could make sure to have that be a discussion point as our strategic planning.
I actually think
process
we've discussed quite a few. We've discussed an ethnic or cultural festival, Pride Festival, Juneteenth, something, and then this annual event. So
Yeah.
Yep. We have quite a few things we've already discussed. But yes, I think it would be cool for us to figure this out a little further.
I think so as well. I'm not sure in the strategic plan if you would really want to, I guess, specifically name things, because you want to be a little bit flexible. But my hope going forward with this plan is, you just listed 3 or 4 ideas of things that we could do. If we could join someone who's very passionate about that, that's already planning it, I just think that's a really good use of resources in a sustainable way to move forward. Or maybe we just have like one big one that we manage, and we support other good things that are happening in the community.
Okay.
So you don't need anything from us other than awesome, how can we?
For the upcoming
Support.
event, if some members would like to be there, some flyers, I think
I have the flyers. Can you
Okay.
give us details? Do you have a date?
29th, October 29th, I believe. I don't want to say a time because I can't remember off the top of my head. I know we started early last year, but I think it's 5 this year.
At
Mackin Park.
Mackin Park. So my next question would be, even if we don't have this set up that we can support this event financially, will you let us know if it's okay if the EIC has a presence?
Absolutely. That's, I think,
Okay.
what we are requesting. I know we were also going to ask, last year the police department came. I think we were going to ask the same thing this year for them to come out again.
We can maybe wrap it into our letter. Sorry.
I don't know if that would be the right time. Last year, Joe handled
Unless you were
asking the
talking
police
about-
department to come.
Oh, sorry.
And he handled it very well, and they did, and they were lovely. They rotated, actually, so there were, I think, a total of 6, but 2 at any given time. And it was nice. It was a nice way to meet them. I think this year we were gonna request that maybe they came in plain clothes instead of uniform, just so that they could mingle a little more and kind of be a part of the community and not necessarily look like they were there to fight crime. But yes, they will be there, I believe. Well, I'm hoping. We haven't asked yet, but I'm really hoping they will.
Do you need anything like name tags, permanent markers, stuff that I could bring over with the flyers?
I will let you know.
Okay.
But no, I think we have if any of you have any yard games, those would be more than welcome. And if any of you would like to volunteer your trunks for trunk or treating, you just got to kind of decorate it up and put some candy in there for the kids. And I mean, we're keeping it very simple. It is a really simple event. It's just a really cool way to come and meet some neighbors. But yeah, so everybody is invited. Bring your families.
And I know that we probably didn't get it into the newsletter in time, this community newsletter. Will you produce like a Canva flyer or something like that I'm happy to do door to door and just.
Oh, cool. I will ask Joe. We did a Facebook online thing already, like
Okay.
an invite.
If you have a PDF file, if you send it to me, I can send it to council people. A lot of us have an email list,
Okay, cool.
and I'd be happy to push it out over
So
my
I
email
was,
list.
again, we specifically want to get those Ward 4ers over here to party with us. So like Yvonne, tell your neighbors, get them over to come hang out and meet us. But yes, that would be awesome.
And you had a question on the time. 5 to 8's what? the
5
event
to 8.
shows, unless you guys did. Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry, I might have been slow to that, but
October
Yeah, 5 to 8.
29th from 5 to 8.
That is
Bring
what
your
the page
family,
says.
come out and meet some neighbors. It's going to be a good time. Get some coffee from Snow and Roast.
And it's a trunk and treat?
We are going to do a little trunk or treat, just a small one, but yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's already so much candy going on. We have Spooky Snake Saturday the weekend before, which is essentially a trunk or treat style parade, and then Halloween is on, the next couple of days. So these kids are going to be very candied. They are not lacking.
It doesn't have to be candy. Like, we could
That's true.
put a craft or.
Okay, all right, we'll take that into account. They're very into those fidgets these days.
Thank you, Jess, for bringing that up. That's really a tremendous event. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Do we want to talk about the spooky Snake Saturday at all in terms of, while we're on the sponsorship page? I know we won't
Can we,
necessarily
like-
be sponsoring it, but
I don't know the date or time. Bryant, can you find that as well? But we can shoot that out to the community just in case they weren't aware.
yeah, I have it. It's October 23rd, and it looks like the costume contest specifically is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you want to help elaborate on, if there's more to it than that, just let me know. But that's what I'm looking at right now.
I do
Oh, yeah,
know a
you-
part of it is taking place at Mackin. I don't know what part of it.
yeah, I believe that's what you're referring to, the Ghouls and Goblins.
Okay.
Yes.
Mackin Park, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the
Okay.
festival area.
We have a cool community with lots of awesome events, so people should definitely come check them out. There's a petting zoo? There is a petting zoo. I'm there. Sold. That is a really easy way to get me anywhere.
Okay, so we'll just move on to the next item, which is a discussion on our committee members and board recruitment. Any updates on that? It does sound like we had some of that happening right before the meeting, maybe.
Seems Gabby also is working on this. I was going to say that I have, what we are doing currently, I don't know if Brandy is going to be able to continue. I know she really wants to. We haven't discussed it at length or anything. It just seems that she has currently I believe she's ill, but other than that, recently in the past week, she's had a conflicting scheduling thing going on, and I think that happened when we switched to the second Thursdays, which she actually wasn't there when we made that decision. But with Bess being out, Tara is, which I don't know if we have publicly announced that, but Tara is leaving us. She is moving, so she will be stepping down from her position. She is the mayor's appointee at large. And then Brandy is Ward 1. But I have been trying to recruit. I have I've talked to somebody in Ward 4 who is in Sunny Hills. We are going to meet and have a bigger conversation about like kind of what it entails, but just to fill that other Ward 4 seat, I think would be nice. But where we are right now is incredibly precarious. If any one of us is ill, then we do not have a quorum and we can't vote. So it would just be nice to get some of those seats filled. I will say I already told Shannon Wheeler that I was going to call her out publicly because she said she was more than willing to step in, either in whatever role she wanted to submit an application for that. And then Eric Lionford, who had previously submitted an application, is still ready and willing to jump in and get going on this work. But yeah, that was, I feel like we should really hit the ground hard on recruiting people, especially with overturn. I don't know who is, I know I personally, I think my seat is up in January. And, okay, so, and then Tara, which is also gone anyways, so. But yes, there's going to be some turnover in January. I also, I think, spoke with Tara. What I want to do with the people of NKC, which I think would be also down in the people of NKC, but I'll say it now, is that I wanted to put together a video and I would kind of like to interview each of us as original members. I spoke with Tara. She said that she would be willing to make time and do it. And it would kind of be similar to what Lisa did with the Planning Commission, but just all of us kind of say a little something about what working on this committee has been and how it's worked, and then we can push that out, especially as we go to recruiting for the next round. I think that was it. Yes. Gabby?
So I have a longtime friend and colleague who is a North Kansas City resident. She's currently in the process of moving, but to another, 24th Avenue. I don't know what ward that is. So, 3. So I approached her. She's just left. Was faculty at UMKC, just left to go work for kind of a big grant project with the American Heart Association. She's well versed in equity and inclusion work, both at UMKC and personally. She does consulting on the side. She's Latina. She's bilingual. She's a single parent of a kiddo in the district, and all the things. I approached her about it to gauge interest, just a gentle toe dip. She expressed concern about her council member appointment. So she was a little nervous about, and I said, well, there's a mayoral at-large role as well that's vacating soon. I wasn't sure about the timing of that. And I'll just be real candid. She was concerned about perceptions of her being appointed by the council member that she didn't align with their politics. And so she was a little nervous about affiliation. And I won't say more than that, but you guys can deduce. So I think she's interested. I think she'd be a great contributor. But I don't know that she'd be willing to do it. I just don't know if she's changing wards. I don't know.
We also have to consider redistricting is
Yes.
happening, and that will shake things up a little bit too, as far
That's
as.
right.
Yeah, so redistricting needs to be done before people file to run for city council. So it needs to be done in December before that date. So we'll see where everything ends up.
But as far as
Ultimately, it wouldn't impact your terms. You would still stay in your seat until your terms expired, even if you were moved out of.
yes, but incoming.
Yeah, the incoming.
So my term expires in January.
Yeah, so
someone
it wouldn't be
would-
selected until you knew.
Yeah, that's
We
what
have
I
some
meant.
seats that are vacant now that could be,
That we need to fill
that could
quickly.
be approved now.
And I will say yes, if her concern is her council member, then potentially the mayor's seat might be ideal for her, but that would then expire in January as well, correct? And then she would have to be,
Yes. Yes, correct. No, that's correct.
okay.
I can tell you, you probably saw it in the social media post the other day. It was posted again that for people to put in applications.
I did
That's
not.
been what I've had city staff do so far is every time there's an opening, at least 2 weeks minimum, it's out there.
Do you have?
That doesn't mean I'm starting from zero with applications every time either.
No,
though.
you had some
I
from
keep everything
before.
on file.
Okay.
I consider all of it, and switch the process up a little bit, especially for this committee, where I'm seeing all the applications now that come in. So if there is someone, maybe I want to poach it, I'm going to go ahead and take that person before maybe even a council member can.
Well, I was going to say, it's
but-
also important to consider that
Yeah.
potentially 2 Ward 1 seats will be open
Yeah.
in January, so maybe not picking somebody from Ward 1 for the mayor's appointment, or,
I know we had the issue before where, there's some confusion over, the mayor's appointment versus the council member's appointments. And so now instead of holding it at one part of the process, I'm having it just go ahead and be sent to both of us, both the council
Okay.
member that person.
so if somebody was appointed for the position, Tara's position, they could just be re-voted in January, correct, for a 3-year term?
I keep agreeing to January, but I'm not sure if that's whenever it ends.
I
is it
feel, well,
January
we
or
started in
April?
January, so I feel
Okay,
like
yeah,
the
then
term
there
is
we
up
go.
in
Okay.
January, yeah.
I was like, I know I saw that
Right.
somewhere, but I can't
I
pull
think
it fast
technically
enough.
the term would be up December, right?
Yes.
So you would have new people installed.
Oh, I see, yeah,
January.
all the terms in 1/1 in whatever year it is. So yeah, 1/1/2022 is the term
Okay,
expiration.
So in
January 1st.
theory, let me just recap. They could be voted in, approved now for the remainder of Tara's term,
Which is until
and then re-voted on in December for an additional
January.
3-year term starting in January.
Yeah, if that person were to be reappointed again, yeah, I'd likely
Okay.
do the second meeting in December. That I would intend to do that if that.
So I don't
if
want
that's the
to
way it all worked. Yep.
presume that I control your decision
No.
slot. So would it be okay if I did an introduction of this individual to you? via
Oh, yeah, that's
email?
fine.
Okay.
No, like I said, I have several. I don't ever guarantee anything on any of the boards or
course.
appointments, but no, I'm always, looking to meet more people and find out what their interests are and,
So
participating.
part of this discussion, though, I think is, it's not necessarily that we had issues with recruitment before, but there were some mild issues with recruitment before. And I think as committee members, that's kind of part of our role, is to tap other people on the shoulder and be like, hey, I think you'd be really great at this. And then to recommend it to you guys. Like, so no, I mean, you don't have control over
Yeah,
the decision,
yeah.
but it is awesome that you are actively recruiting and reaching out to individuals who
I
would
do
be
always appreciate feedback.
good, yes.
I think that's awesome. I'm very proud of you guys for doing that. My hopes are that it gets easier in the future, because I just want to keep in mind for everyone sitting up there that you've spent all of this time working to build a foundation. So we aren't really out there yet, if that makes sense. And we are just now getting to where we're ready to do the real work on the strategic plan and just getting to where we're going to be out there. So we're not really visible yet. And so I super appreciate you guys doing that recruitment behind the scenes. And I feel like we're getting really close to when you do step down, we're ready to hand over a pretty solid committee.
I want to just make a request, and I know that we have announcements, but I feel like it's an agenda item for next time. Would it be possible for our November meeting to review the roster so we can have a clear understanding of who's gone now, who's rolling off, what ward do they represent, and then how many people do we have to recruit and what wards? Because I feel like it's nebulous to me.
So I will say, just off the top of my head, definitively, Tara's position needs to be filled, and then the open Ward 4 seat needs to be filled. Other than that, like, I don't want to speak for Bess or Brandy, but I'm fairly certain they both intend to step back in. And I believe Bess was a 3-year appointment as well, correct? Another reason we need to review the roster. But yes, I think Bess was a 3-year appointment, so I think she's just taking time to handle her family stuff and may come back, so I don't want to prematurely try to fill their seats or anything. But as of right now, we have two that very much so need to get filled somewhat quickly, in my opinion. So would that be, who appointed you?
It would be Anna Palumbi, and I am
Okay.
happy to introduce her to whomever you think may want to take the seat in Ward 4.
Okay, so I will continue
Anna
pushing that.
Palumbi is the council person that has a vacant seat
Yep.
for the EIC.
For Ward 4.
Yes.
Okay. And then the person I'm talking to is in Ward 4 at Sunny Hills, so hopefully we can connect those two and get that seat filled soon.
There are other openings too. Not the most exciting boards, but the Industrial Development Authority, the TIF Commission. In fact, there's another one.
I'm here for all of that, but I
BZA,
am mostly concerned that we can't vote.
Board of Zoning Adjustment. There you go. So some real exciting ones.
Okay. There are many boards and committees open.
There are, yes. So recruitment
There's
on all of them is a good
lots
thing.
of things to
Yes.
fill.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I guess this is a good time to bring it up. Can we still pursue that route of trying to interview board and committee members and other boards and committees so that we have some sort of, like you did it for the planning commission, but can we also try to?
I think that was the idea when we started
Okay.
that, but then at our last meeting, I said, I have too many things going on and I needed to
Yeah,
hand it
and
over.
Me and Yvonne
I just handed it
we're
over.
people of NKC on that now, so if we can, I would love to
Yes,
shoot me a list of all of these openings.
and what I can do when you pick what you're going to highlight next, I can get you in touch with the people that are already serving
Okay.
on that committee or board, contact information, so you're able to interview them. Or like what I did before is I interviewed Sarah Copeland because I wanted the city's information about the planning commission so that it was more well explained, I guess.
Okay, I'm good with all of that. Could someone just email me and Yvonne a list of open positions,
The vacancies.
vacancies?
I did just forward you the current roster of equity and inclusion, but yeah, I can
Okay.
send you the rest as well. And subject to be filled anytime now. Some of them I've already put out a few weeks ago.
Is there one that
It's-
you would specifically, other than this one, which is my main focus currently, is there one that you would specifically like us to focus on next? Because
I mean, they're interesting positions because like the Industrial Development Authority only really meets when we need to issue some sort of new bond related to development. So
Okay.
it's one of those, meet as is. So there's not really a super priority to
I know
there's
that
not.
city council and you were called out recently for potentially not looking for the diverse applicants and recruiting properly. So I think that that's kind of what this committee is for, and it would just be really cool if we could jump in and
Yes.
start recruiting.
In response to that, because I was emailed before that meeting, and I did say it was Mayor DeLong's request that we focus first on Planning Commission, which is why we did Planning Commission in August, because he wanted to actively recruit diversity for these committees. So there was an effort to recruit, and that's why we picked that first one. So maybe in the list, we can even get an order of which ones we want to do first, second, third.
I mean, yeah, and ultimately we get to have all of them because I mean it's perpetual. I mean the boards always turn over. Someone moves, someone resigns. I
That
mean,
was
there's
the
always-
idea.
That's
That's
what-
why I
yeah.
also went to Sarah to get, so it outlasted the current
Yeah.
committee members, to just have a description of what you do. So depending on the committee, it will depend who you would contact at the city to say, what do you need people to know? So one of the things is, do you have to have experience in fill in the blank? And it's either a yes or a no, or you can be trained while you're doing it. Those types of questions are what people want to know. Am I qualified to do this? And what is the time commitment? And when do you meet?
And those
Because they're
questions
usually all set.
generally roll over to now, 5 years from now, like it's,
Yes.
yeah, so it
Some
is
committees, you have a
intended.
set date, like the Planning Commission.
Some haven't met in 10 years.
Yeah, and
So-
some committees only meet on an as-needed
Yeah.
basis to
Really?
perform their function.
What
So
committees
it's-
are these?
I just had it up with the whole list, and of course I switched screens here. Okay, something like the BZA, the Board of Zoning, they meet infrequently. Liquor Control Board of Review. So
That's
someone
what
gets
I
in
was
some
thinking
sort of permit issue with the police department, then that would come before the Liquor Control Board, and I'm not even sure when the last time they met.
Okay.
There's another one that we weren't even sure when the last time they met. But yeah, there's a few of them. And like TIF Commission, we have that TIF site over at 23rd and Swift. course, one north, but I mean, they've pretty much done the majority of the work they can do for now too. So I don't think they met in a year or so. Probably won't meet for a couple more.
Okay.
So there are a few of those.
Yeah, and that's the type of thing to explain because the time commitment is very different between these. So people just need to know that before they apply.
All right. The next item on here is to reschedule our work session. We were unable to get together at the end of, I guess, the end of September. So hopefully we can get together soon. Is there a Thursday that we're looking at to do that at this time?
Whether looking at the 21st or the 28th.
Or the 4th.
Or the 4th, yep.
I wouldn't have a problem meeting next week just to keep some of these things fresh in our mind. I think we have a lot of ideas right now. And
So I
it'd be
will
good to move on them right away, just
And
to-
stay farther away from Halloween.
Yeah, I think the 28th would be tough with the event that you have, that, I mean, we're all
Yeah.
going to probably be participating in on the 29th. The 21st is, the weekend before the Snake Saturday event, whether or not that has any bearing, but I think a week from today is good.
So I will say
People
we
can look at their schedules.
have quite a bit now, because we're actually, I think, trying to combine 2 work sessions into one now, since we kind of missed one. So one was specifically to discuss the RFP with Kim. And I don't know a lot about it, but I do feel like it's going to take, I mean, Gabby, you might know better, but it's going to take some amount of time to get through that and to really, like, hammer it out. And
So
then,
here's what I think. I think we should set it for next week. I do not know if Kim is available. If Kim is not available, we still meet and do the other things on the list.
okay,
And then we find a time when Kim is available to meet.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, I
Can
think
we
that,
reach out to Kim and ask her when she will have some availability?
But she was out of the building today, so I don't think she'll be able to return emails today, but I'll send her our thoughts and find out, and I can get back to you.
Okay, perfect.
and looking ahead, we will meet on the 11th, just per our every second Thursday of the month. And then obviously Thanksgiving is the 25th, so I don't think that would be an eligible date if we were to have a work session in November. So that would leave the 4th and the 19th, or excuse me, the 4th and the 18th if we were trying
I
to.
think when we discussed work sessions, while we did try to keep it on Thursdays, I think we also discussed that it didn't have to be a Thursday.
you're-
It just
you're
had to
absolutely
It
be,
doesn't have to be a Thursday. It
just notice.
doesn't have to be, and
Here.
won't be
Okay.
here. I mean, it could be here, but it won't be televised. You can't vote during a work session to make something finalized. It would just be a work session. So it doesn't have to, I mean, we could meet at the park. We could meet at the Parks Building. We could meet on a Tuesday. It's just whatever we could piece together. I know Kim's been doing 2 jobs for a long time now. Plus, she has her own family life. So I'm not sure when, it may not be a Thursday, she can dedicate some time to do this. I know that she will. She's passionate about the committee, but I just don't know if it's a Thursday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to her about our work session this Thursday. I assume we want to meet here. Is that true?
Yeah,
Okay. At 7?
that works.
That was
Yeah.
my clarifying question, was what time? Because we changed it one time and it
We came at
messed
6 on a
everybody
work
up.
session
Yeah.
once. It's whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Does 7 work easiest for everybody? Is that the best?
For me personally, 7 works great because I can feed my child before I
Okay,
go.
so we have a work session set for next Thursday, 7 PM here. I'll get a hold of Kim, and if it doesn't work for her, we'll find a date. And I'll just message you guys and see if it works. We just have to have the agenda for that work session posted 48 hours in advance.
24.
I always tell myself
I know.
48 though. So you're right. Technically, it's not.
It's true. It's nice. Yes.
Yeah. So I say we set the meeting. If she can come, great. If not, we've got plenty of other things on the list.
Okay. Perfect.
So this is maybe a question, it's probably a Robert's Rules question, and it's like, it's not a new agenda item, and I'm not sure it's a work session item, but is it possible for our next regular meeting, since that will be televised, to get a little bit of an update about the two things, the progress toward the interviewing, and then any progress toward identifying a vendor for DEI training for the city? Because those were two kind of pending things that are out in the webosphere that I just wanted to stay on top of, because I know.
I feel like Gabby's reading my mind. I was trying to figure out a good time to ask about the city administrator position and where we are on that.
But is that more of a regular agenda item or a works, I don't know, like.
I feel like the community also wants to know.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of information flying around there, so it would probably be nice for some update that they could also be in on.
I guess if I get in trouble, I'll get in trouble. We are down to the finalist interviews, and we'll be doing those in the next week. So, well, next week, I guess. Yeah, what's my calendar here? Yeah, next week. So we are getting near the end of the process.
Okay.
There, that's about as
How
exciting
many
as an update
candidates?
as you're gonna get right now. I think.
Okay.
No, what was that? What was
Is
the
it
poll?
how many candidates are we looking at?
3? There, I'll go 3.
Okay.
3 remaining finalists, and so they will all be interviewed in one evening here at City Hall.
Okay.
And that'll be, I don't have the rest of the schedule up on me, but yeah, a couple weeks after that, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to be taking that position.
Okay. And then to her second question, do we know? I don't know.
That's a Kim.
In regards to the training, I've got 3 viable options. Unfortunately, I've just been swamped with open enrollment coming up and union negotiations and everything else on my plate. I've got all the data. So
Okay.
I think we can put that on as an agenda item. Yeah,
Okay. Great. Thank
The
you so
11th.
much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
that would work.
All right, so we will have a work session next Thursday at 7, right here.
Can I take this moment while we're at, you know what? I'll just.
Do you want?
Bryant, as we are doing these little city updates, can I ask you where we are on this warming shelter for the winter, and if there is anything that the Equity and Inclusion Committee can do to push the needle forward on this a little bit? I know Councilmember Saper was hoping to
about
have
it.
something in November, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that would be a great thing to put on the November 11th. I'm going to add that to the list because we should have some more information and
Then I can formally bring something then. That'll
Yes.
give me,
Yeah.
That's kinda what I
instead
meant.
of-
Yeah, yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of this blank spare,
Yeah, you're
spare
like,
me like
"Ah."
gathering all of my thoughts again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, so something that we could talk about, and then honestly, if there's anything that we can do as a committee to help on that, I would love to. So yeah, throwing that out there.
Okay, so we will move on to item 6, which is committee updates. The very first thing on here is NKC United. Are there any updates on that project?
April, you weren't here. Yes, so we actually, well, April was gone, and I should have emailed you, and I dropped the ball, and I'm sorry. But I had asked if we were looking to expand that project somehow, and what we were kind of like going to jump into, like some action points for that project and things that we were going to do. And I sort of volunteered you and I for a committee so that we could work on it. So we do not have updates, but we may very soon. Yeah, that is the update.
was that the update on NKC United or people of NKC?
NKC United.
That's a good segue. The next item is people of NKC.
We sort of got lost up there, and it kind of just fell into things we already talked about. I just wanted to know, I wanted some guidance on, again, connecting the board and committee recruitments to NKC United. I feel like that's going to be the most, the best thing that we can do with it right now.
Honestly, I agree 100%. And this is the one thing that the mayor has really leaned on us to get help for, which is to get our committees more accessible to more people in the community and to recruit. And I think in order to recruit, people need to know what they're signing up for. So I think highlighting it in a short video or a PowerPoint or whatever is a really great way to get people the information, so it doesn't seem like, I don't know what the TIF committee does, or, just to give the basic information and the things that they need to know to see if they can work it into their lives. So I think that would be a great use.
In that, as we continue, again, I feel like recruitment does kind of fall heavily on our shoulders as the Equity and Inclusion Committee. So yeah, as we continue and we are talking to people that we know and trying to direct them towards things, it would be great to have a point of reference, like, oh, go check out this video on what the TIF Commission does, or, so that's that was the only update I had, is that I just wanted some guidance on where to go next with that, who to interview maybe, like some people, some names or something.
So I think where we are with that is we're going to email the vacancies and maybe the order that you want to do them in, and then I can get you connected with who you may want to talk to about that item.
So I will say I may just do the EIC, because that's going to be the easiest for me to do knowledge-wise.
And there will be several openings January 1st.
Yep. And, well, I mean, there's several right now that we should
Yeah, but
fill
I mean,
rather
even if you're
quickly.
looking ahead, if we were
Yeah.
able to get those filled before the next meeting, we know for a fact, you can go for more than one term, but that there may be openings.
I think part of our roster discussion next month should include, because I think we make assumptions that people want to renew, right? So we need to have those conversations, like, Jess, do your term ends blah date. Do you anticipate wanting to renew your term, or do you need to step down? Because I think what ends up happening is that people roll off and we don't have anybody in the wings ready to jump in. So hopefully that can be part of our discussion as
That's
So
well.
I
a
will
very
say
good
that's why I've been recruiting so heavily, because
Yeah.
I do intend to step down at the end of this. In my opinion, that's what it's made for, is we should get new voices on here. And I know that there's a couple of people in my ward that are like raring to go and jump in. So I just think it would be a good time.
Yeah, that would be a good discussion to have with that item.
And I haven't actually used it yet, but we did create a new renewal form. So ahead of time to kind of give people that first, I guess most of them come from me, but for the equity inclusion, it comes from the council member. It's kind of a, are you interested in being on this committee again? If yes, please, fill out this form that shows your interest. And that gives council something to consider as well.
So in our discussion, something that I can have ready is just a document of renewal or application that you could hand out to people, or renewal if you wanted to fill it out for yourself if your term was coming up. So we can have that ready.
Do we want to have applications available at the Fall Festival? I know we had discussed having applications available at events previously, but
My vote is yes.
Applications everywhere.
okay.
No, eventually we'll have a better web form. Q1 of next year when the website really gets underway, then maybe you can go
So are
2021 and QR coded or something. Eventually you can get a good
that would be
web
awesome.
application.
We're
That's
living
the
in
goal
modern
here.
times, Brent. We
yeah,
should get with it.
I know. I don't want to have to scan in many more applications. I'm trying.
I will say, is there any legality that we need to, like, I know when we did voter registration drives, there's certain law or rules that regulate how things transfer from one place to another, or does it matter if they whip out a pen and fill out an application right then and there? Can we personally bring it to you and drop it off up here, or is there some sort of like process for that? Do they need to personally bring it in
I don't
themselves?
believe so. You know, I think the voter registration is just a different beast, and
Well, I
their
mean-
concerns over custody over all that.
Yes, yes.
So
I just
no,
didn't.
we in particular, I don't believe have a policy related to that, but you definitely don't want to lose people's information.
Yeah, I didn't want there to be any like
here and there,
ambiguity
yeah,
or
yeah.
people think it, yeah. Okay. So can we get some of those printed as well?
I can totally do that, yes.
Thank you.
Crystal's watching.
All right. The next item was our city's 2022 calendar, and that was something Jess and I were talking about. I think we talked about it at the end of the meeting, and that was about
You
it. But I
emailed
did
me a
email-
thing and I,
So-
yes.
Yeah, a link.
There is
sorry.
a due date for that because these calendars go out to be printed. And
November
the due
1st?
date is November
Great.
1st.
So I sent a link that I was still in a draft after the end of our last meeting with a really, really good equity and inclusion calendar that was put together for some HR professionals. And I think that's a really good place to start just because I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel. And there's so many things to consider with an equity and inclusive calendar. So we'll start there, I think, and find other resources that are available. But if anyone else has had work in that, let us know because we always appreciate recommendations. I think
And
that's a good thing to
think
email
even
us.
Bringing it to our work session, we can't decide new business on a work session, but you could just bring it to the committee members and say, here, this is what we have. And we could all check it out at that point. But if you pass it on to Kim soon, she'll be able to look at it and get final approval before that calendar actually prints.
Okay.
And where do the copies of the calendar go? Or what are they? Who are they made
If you
available
don't have a
for?
city calendar, you really need one.
I know.
They have them at the library. That's where I usually get mine. But they'll always also have a stack of them out here at City Hall. It has, so the meetings that we were talking about, the standard meetings that are in the calendar, like our meeting should be in there on this next one because we have a set day of the month. The planning commission meetings, they're all in the calendar. If you have little kids, like the preset story times, they're in the calendar. They have like a Lego thing. I don't know, they've just got like tubs of Legos. I think that was in the calendar. It's like fantastic. If you don't have one, you should get one this next time and put it up in your house because it's got all this stuff.
Now I know how Anessa knows everything that's happening. That's good to know.
Oh, I wondered now.
She knows everything, always, all
I'm not
the
even sure
events.
I'm not even sure I got one this last
She has the city calendar.
I have two. I get them every year. If I can't find it, I go back. I'll say when you're going to get your next ones. So it is super duper handy, I think, for just seeing for the month what's happening.
And they're still taking submissions for the pictures for it too, aren't they? Like the actual, is that still open?
I
The
have no
photography
idea
for the
about that.
calendar?
I'm not sure how many she's received. If I can hit the button. I'm guessing the due date's the same. I just, last time I talked to her, but it's been like a month and a half or two. There was only a handful of submissions for photos. But I don't know what's happening now.
And then the last item on our committee updates will be another newsletter article for the quarterly, or I guess that would be the first quarter newsletter. Is that correct? Of 2022. But anyhow, that will be due on November 19th. So that is something we can start talking about.
Yeah, Tara had done those for us, so
I think that was, yeah, me, Daniel, and Tara. So does anybody else want to jump in on this? Yeah, I'll jump in. All right. All right. So we'll get on that. We have two things
Yeah.
to do.
So announcements, I think I should really have put in there as council comments, or committee comments, I'm sorry. I don't think we have anything to add from the staff perspective, is that correct? You don't have anything to add in announcements? No?
Actually,
I don't-
Stephen Roberts is going to come out and explain the comments
Oh,
being
thank you.
turned off on Google, or on, on the
YouTube.
YouTube video.
There we go. He's going to
Yep.
pull the curtain back
Thank
here.
you.
There.
And I'm gonna throw this out real quick
Like
too.
Oz.
Ward 3, Adam Roberts, his birthday is today, so happy birthday, Councilmember Adam Roberts.
Happy birthday, Adam.
did hear at the beginning, someone had asked why the comments were turned off on the YouTube. And honestly, for a couple of reasons. First, I didn't realize they were actually allowed and turned on, because one thing to think about when you deal with governments, everything is a public record and has to be archived and kept and saved. And so I don't think anybody realized that they were on. Nobody was responding to any of the comments. And when I went through and when I turned them off, I specifically did so because there was some unsavory spam that was ending up in those. And, from a security perspective, I thought that's not a good idea to leave those on. So, and I can talk to Kim and get direction if you guys want to turn it back on, but we don't allow
No.
them for any of the other meetings at all. So
I would say to anybody who's watching and maybe would have commented on it, you can come to our website, nkc.org/EIC, and there is a place for you to leave comments there.
Perfect.
and of course the email, what is it, EIC@nkc.org. So
Or
Yep.
call
Best way
us.
to do it. Or just call.
Thank you. And
You're
yes, I wasn't super concerned. I just noticed that there was like a discrepancy one month and then the next month there wasn't. But yes, thank you.
I guess I'll go through announcements, or not announcements, council committee comments. Jessica Loya.
Mostly, I think I just want to say thank you to Tara Adler for jumping in on this committee and really putting in the work for the last 10 months, 9 months. It was much appreciated, and she will genuinely be missed. And I'm very excited for whatever this next step that they are embarking on consists of.
Excellent. For anybody who's watching at home and is wondering why I'm going in this order, I'm just going by wards. So it's not like a preset something.
I was also going to say congratulations to Bess Bailey for having a beautiful little human. But yeah, that's it.
Daniel Trotter.
I just wanted to echo what Jess said about having Tara on the team. We will certainly miss her, and it was really good getting to know her in the time that I shared with her. And also to Bess, yes, absolutely. Big time congratulations, and we hope to have her back soon.
Gabby Flores.
This is just announcements or any
Or
comments?
comments,
Okay.
yeah.
I want to just apologize. I feel like I came out of the gates pretty hot right at the front door in today's meeting, and that wasn't my intention. I want to be collaborative, but I think I was, I should have settled in a little bit more to the conversation. But I really hope that we can find a mutually beneficial collaborative space with the police department and police chief and leadership, because it's just so important, especially right now, as we're heading into more pandemic times and winter and just some of the experiences that our community members have had. So I apologize for just kind of being a little over the top, but I appreciate this being a safe space and being able to kind of be a sounding board. The second thing I just want to comment on is just to wish Brandy speedy recovery and get well soon. We miss you here, and you're missed and valued. So come back when you can, but take care of yourself. And I'm excited to have another work session and to have cool stuff happening. It feels like we're getting momentum and traction. So I really love that. Thank you.
I totally agree with that. April Jones.
Everybody's already said everything that I was thinking of. Thanks to Tara. Congratulations to Bess. Get well to Brandy. And happy birthday to Adam. And I wanted to say thanks to the committee members that even if they don't come here and comment during the meetings, that they comment to us as members individually and stuff. And so we value that input, and we do try to bring it here as much as possible. And I really do, even if it's not any kind of like official or formal feedback, I just appreciate the input that we do get outside of the meetings and stuff.
And Yvonne Salinas.
Just congratulations to Bess as well, and get well soon. Brandy, And Tara, yeah, you're going to be missed. But if it doesn't work out, there'll be a house for sale in Ward 4 next year. Yes, come on back.
All right, I move to adjourn our meeting today. Sounds good? All right.
You
We adjourn at 8, oh, sorry.
You got to gavel it.
Oh, yes. Do I really?
Yeah.
We adjourn at 8:47 PM.